I feel like it ends up on my phone.
Yeah.
It's not a budget session.
Oh.
Is the redistricting?
We're live. Where do you go?
Beth, is the redistricting commission doing a presentation to the council?
Yeah, at 5:30 on the.
At 5:30?
No, there's reports. Correspondence from boards.
What are they doing?
At 5:30.
At 5:30 do.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys are supposed to be doing your budget.
Okay, all right. I thought they were coming. That's why.
No, they're coming. I told them 5:30.
Okay.
It's all set.
Oh, are we on right now?
Yes.
Okay. This time we're going to call to order the work session of the Common Council. Hand it over to council for budget discussion. This time after the 8th of October. Just a refresher, after the 8th of October, after the mayor's proposed budget is delivered, there's a period of time for public consumption. We had the public hearing last week. And so between now and January 15th, it's up to the council to do their part for the budget, which is work with department heads and make any adjustments or changes to the budget as proposed. So hand it over to council. If there's any particular department head or any particular order that this needs to go in, it would be helpful to know.
So I think that we had agreed that we would have our budget discussions based on the departments who are typically providing us a liaison. And you did send out an email. I'm looking for it right now. Beth, do you know when you sent that?
Last time.
City Clerk, Public Works, Environmental and Community Development.
Send it out October 18th.
October 18th.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Jeez.
That was pretty popular, but we were covering tonight.
Well, of course, I can't find it. All right. No, I mean, it's listed basically on the bottom with reports. I think we should just go in order of the departments that report out. That would be my suggestion, starting with city clerk, Department of Public Works, environmental, CDO. Do we have anybody else on that for that night after CDO? No. right?
According to the agenda, to the calendar invites, mayor's office, city clerk, DPW, environmental, and CDO.
I might starting with city clerk. Just page 5 on our budget document. So I see your regular pay is up 3%, like roughly 3%.
It is whatever the union.
Okay. So office equipment, office supplies, telephone contract services, those all seem to be increased. Well, why is contract services increased by 52%? Sylvia?
Because the zoning, we're hoping that the zoning goes through. If it does, that's gonna affect general code. That's gonna be a law that's gonna affect every portion of the code, and I only increased it by 20,000. And that's probably not accurate. It's probably gonna be substantially more. I don't know until I have a draft, and even if I had a draft and sent it to general code and asked them for an estimate, you're touching every part of the code with that zoning, except for the charter part. So it's a major overhaul.
Okay. And so am I understanding you correctly? You think it's going to be more than what's budgeted?
I had to throw out a number.
Yeah, okay.
Right now, general code for the 2 laws you passed this year with our annual service fee and everything is $2,000. That's for the 2 little laws that you passed. This is going to be a massive undertaking to revise the entire code.
Okay. So office equipment, supplies and telephone. Is that going up? Basically, is telephone going up all over the city?
Actually, Richard does an analysis of that and provides us those numbers.
Okay.
I don't provide those. I
Okay,
mean, it's in my budget. He does it for every department.
right. Okay.
Office supplies, basically, I'm mandated to provide envelopes, security paper, all of that. It's a state, people come in for documents. I have to provide that to them. It's, it's gone up a little bit every year. The price as well of everything has gone up a little bit every year.
But your print and copy and your postage are down. Decreased.
Well, I think print went down anyway.
It did go down, okay.
Yeah. That actually, the 700 might be slightly under, but I mean, it's an estimate.
Okay, because I just see that you have typically budgeted for more than that. I just didn't know what you attributed a 30% decrease to.
It's probably gonna be closer to 750, but I'm looking at what I am so far to date.
Okay, so because you didn't,
I think.
so you haven't spent that much, so you're just under budgeting because you don't think you're gonna, basically, you're not gonna need it. Okay,
And we used to, in that printing copier, everything comes out of my office, the agendas, Beth's, John's did. John's no longer connected to it.
mhm. Okay. Is municipal buildings part of the,
Not any longer.
not any longer, that's not part of you?
Nope.
It used to be, right?
Yes.
Yes. Whose responsibility is that now?
DPW.
Okay. Well, those are the only questions I have for you. I don't know if anybody else does.
How's that machine that we got you a couple years ago still working it?
It's had its pros and cons. Right now, it's not working out that great, but it's in for repair at no cost to us.
And it's saving on your
It's-
hand,
it's
right?
there, it's on their end, so, but it's way better doing it electronically, the manual.
I remember that's like one of the only things you ever asked for.
Yes, I know, I asked for years and finally I got it. So thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Public Works? So municipal buildings are under the Public Works budget,
Yeah.
basically? What's the Mike, what is the capital outlay under the municipal buildings? What is that? You don't know?
Typical, the municipal building outlay is typically tied to the courts. That's where the funding comes from. In comparison or in association with the increases to state aid for municipal buildings or for the court system. And that's something that we are handed by the court system. We don't necessarily have much say in terms of what improvements we make, but we are responsible for coordinating those improvements
Okay.
and then are repaid for that one. Reimbursed that, what are we reimbursed at? We're reimbursed at $1.
Yeah, 105%.
105%.
Still remain the same.
For contracted services.
Yeah, so for every $1 we spend, we get $1.05 back. Yeah.
5%.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Okay.
When did this move to DPW? Just out of curiosity, I know when I first came on board, Sylvia and Councilman Net and I had a conversation about this, but I don't recall when that happened, and I apologize if I voted on that.
End of summer.
Okay, and
It was not a council vote.
okay. And what was the rationale behind that? Just out of curiosity.
Voluntold. That too, and operationally, what was happening was the court would call Sylvia would call DPW would organize the work. And then bill the work back to Sylvia, who then billed the work back to the court system.
Thank you.
Trying to find your part of the budget, Mike.
Sure.
Okay, so starting with page 9 in the budget document that we have. It's a Public Works Street Administration.
Sure.
Okay. My general sense of most of your components of the budget. So street administration, street maintenance, snow and ice. I see a lot of decreases in what I would consider operational costs, and
The mayor's budget, there are decreases. My budget, the mayor's budget, if you look at the two lines, are different. So yeah, under the street and general fund, yeah, there are tighter numbers there. And that was the mayor's budgeting. So the numbers I submitted were higher. Yes, there are decreases.
okay, so under street administration.
Yep.
I see a 50% decrease for technical equipment. So that's what it says here, $2,250 is what we're budgeting.
Yep.
What is,
Typically, those would be. That's subscriptions. So these are annual subscriptions for I would say. What else do you have in those?
We've got, our Leica survey equipment.
Yeah.
your what? I'm sorry.
Our Leica survey equipment.
Software,
As well.
software, firmware, you call it?
Yeah, it's called, they're basically firmware updates for all our equipment for surveying.
So we did have an update, or we had. Purchase order this year for a subscription, so we do it. For this year. So this will roll us into the fall.
Some of them run in a 3-year cycle. You get discounts if you do it 3 years, some of them are 5 years. So we generally will purchase a 3-year subscription or a 5-year subscription, so we get the cheaper price. So it could be that this year, both of those aligns were a little bit cheaper this year, or next year, we might have a subscription renewal, so it'll be a little bit more expensive next year.
Okay. And then I see decreases in the budget for electric, water, sewer, telephone, contract services, postage. You know, almost over. Yeah, there's a significant decrease.
Mhm.
What's that attributed to?
Yeah, guess I'm looking for
Again,
some
those
answers.
are mayoral numbers. I put in averages. I know I've worked the prior year. We did some hard work, the office manager, Richard, and myself, with balancing out, what you see there is gas, electric, water, sewer. Under street administration, water administration, sewer administration, the cost spread out among our facility.
Excuse me? I'm sorry.
So under
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
there are 3 administration categories.
Mhm.
There's water, sewer, and street maintenance. And what we did is we took a look at the overall cost for those items and spread them out evenly, because obviously we're thirds in our budget. We did that last year, and then the mayor this year, he's probably looking at trends, is what I'm assuming what he did. And he made the decision to cut down those numbers.
If you look at again, this is. Trying to explain this, as it's worked in the budget. The offices and department heads are provided a 5-year look back of the budgets between last year and 5 years ago. So we provide them 5 years of budgeting of actual. So I look at it from, they provide a number, I look at the actuals, I compare how close we are to those numbers from the past, and then I make my adjustment. 2023, if you look at, say, water and sewer, 2023, 155, 158, 2024 actual year to date, $201 or $210 and $394. So when the department heads provide a budget based on their assumption about how much they're going to consume, I take a look at that budget, I look back 5 years, take a look at the 5-year average, and then I make the adjustment accordingly. So Michael, this year, I don't have Michael's numbers for that. For those items, but it's probably pretty close to that 550 number, around that number. And I made adjustments accordingly based on that historical data.
Okay, so under,
Sorry, just one other clarification. Telephone is it's a calculation done based on the number of phone lines going into the facility or an office. So that is an average, or that's a calculated cost based on the number of phone lines servicing that building against the entire bill provided to us by Centrelink. So it's just divvied up based on that, based on the amount of service that department is using.
so under street, public works, street maintenance, technical equipment. Is a pretty significant decrease. What would normally fall under technical equipment category? What would that cover for street maintenance? Yeah.
So that would, again, that's a subscription cost, and that would be our truck tracking and GPS. But again, you have to look at it, it is spread across water, sewer, and general fund, because we do use vehicles for all three.
What is the capital outlay?
Capital outlay under street maintenance.
Yes.
Okay. That is gonna be. So we're gonna look at the small capital purchases. Originally. You look at the prior year, the 2025 budget, you'll see it's $52,000 or 24. Yeah, there's $52,000 roughly.
Mhm.
We had a piece of equipment there we did not purchase, we did not need it. So this usually is like small trailers, plate tampers, consumable items that aren't. Equipment that's not big enough to capitalize, put in the capital plan, but equipment we need for maintenance.
Okay. And material and supply.
That is the big one, street construction material supply, so that is your blacktop, that's your gravel, that's. Any, road maintenance materials.
Vehicle supplies.
Vehicle supplies are just that, or it's, well, actually, I should say, vehicle supplies is your fuel and oils. And again, we took and looked at the whole consumption of prior years and split it up amongst the funds.
This is sorry, street maintenance,
No, vehicle supplies,
the under street maintenance.
under street.
Yes.
maintenance, Yep, it's the 4320 line.
And then I also see a pretty large decrease for contract service.
Contracted services, yeah, that is your line striping, crack sealing. Any of that type of stuff, if I want to do paving that's non-chip related.
So we're going to decrease our budget down to 190,000.
That's the mayor's budget.
Right. Well,
Okay, so here, as an example, that item right there, what is that, technical special material supplies?
contract service.
Sorry, contract services. Yeah. Contract services budget, this year, what's remaining is $201,000. That's based on whatever calculation we received, at the time that we, submitted this budget. What was budgeted, or revised in 2024 was $397,000. What remains is, $204,000 in that, or sorry, $201,000 in that budget.
The bulk,
Average, sorry, Michael, average over the 5 years for that street maintenance contract services is $88,000. Okay, what was submitted to my office was $250,000. So you can start to see some of the logic that I put into maintaining what's been requested versus what we've been using.
So repairs to equipment, I see that's also
I'd
decreased.
like to explain a little bit what's in that line before we run.
Oh, on the contract
Yeah, the
service?
contracted service, so how we arrive at the number, I just don't throw a number on the line.
Mhm.
Prior years, particularly the last 4 years, because of COVID and everything we've gone through, street painting, for instance, epoxy paint, you notice this year we did a lot of striping. $125,000 is the estimate, that's up from $70,000. The county does our main line, we're usually about $60,000 there on the the latex painting. So what we worked off was a carryover purchase order from the prior year. We already had on those prices. So if we were to go out this year, those are two large ticket items right there alone. That if we do the epoxy program again this coming year, that's what we'd have to go up with. So those are examples of what's in there.
Okay.
There's other items too.
All right.
The last 2 years, we didn't do striping because they couldn't get epoxy paint last year. So we didn't do that, and then a couple of years ago, we didn't do it because of COVID. So the 5-year averages for those numbers, you can't really look at those because there were a couple of years where we didn't do the epoxy paint.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. So, my other question was about repairs to equipment.
Yeah, those are, if we have to bring a piece of equipment in that we cannot repair in-house, so we have to go to a dealer. Something that we can't diagnose or make the repair in-house, that's something we should find out.
I have similar questions for snow and ice.
Yep.
So again, I see decreases in technical equipment. Vehicle supplies, vehicle parts, and contract services. So, can we start with technical equipment? I see
Technical
decrease.
equipment, that, again, that's your subscriptions for your tracking, and we should be fine with that, with the reduction there. Vehicle supplies, that's fuel.
That's fuel.
Yeah, vehicle supplies, it's fuel and oil.
So. And then vehicle parts, and you're
Vehicle
significantly reducing your budget on that as well.
Yep.
Okay.
You don't think that opens you up for something if you, I mean, having.
Again, I, my numbers I put in are my numbers, the mayor budgeted and.
Yeah.
You're asking me questions about the mayor's numbers, I can't really speak until.
Sorry,
Fair,
Michael.
fair.
Vehicle parts as submitted by Michael was 2,000. That's what was. Contracted services as submitted by Michael was 22,000 and was reduced to 3,500. Again, based on yearly averages. For that one. Average expenditure for contracted services under snow and ice was right around $2,600.
And what that contracted service is.
Not $2,600, not 22,000, which is what was again submitted by Michael's office. Compared to the $44,000 under the 2024 revised budget.
What is under contract service? What does that cover for
For
snow
snow and ice, and actually what it is for snow hauling, believe it or not.
snow? hauling?
When we do, if we have a winter where we have to do a lot of downtown cleanups, last year, I think we were able to get away with just one. Where we shut down downtown at night, I think we basically try to pick away at it so we can avoid having to do overtime and clean up. But we've had years where we have to hire upwards of 6 trucks to go along with our fleet to pick up snow. So again, that's a number that could be used, or, you know, when I first got here, we changed the program. Where it used to take 3 nights to clean up downtown by hiring trucks. We cut down on that 3-night event along with re-rigging equipment. And we also cut down the overtime. So that's what that was for.
And since then, we also changed the snow removal program.
Did I miss anything from your budget? So I have
It rolls on to refuse next.
where is that?
That's right after snow and ice.
No, for us, it's not. It says street lighting, redevelopment.
Waste collection.
Where is that?
Well,
Next page.
Section?
Oh, page 12.
Where are we? Well,
Are parks and beautification also
Yep,
under yours?
that's-
Okay. So waste collection, I'm gonna go through and ask you the same questions. Sorry. Just want to make sure. I understand.
They're pretty much gonna be the same answer. So
Okay.
vehicle supplies, and we had this conversation when we had the initial run through. Vehicle supplies are always gonna be fuel and oil. Obviously, you know what the payroll items are.
Yep.
Technical and special, I can give you more elaborate detailed on those that vary from category to category. Contracted services under refuse. That is gonna be special waste pickup that we don't actually do. And that comes, you know, whether people are picking up dumpsters at the shop for us. The only item here, the mayor looks like he cut the fuel a little bit. We had a back and forth on the tipping fees where you see fees for services. That is the landfill fees.
Oh, where is
Uh,
that? Wait.
that is-
Oh, there it
That's
is.
the big number. Those are really the ones we want to look at. Those have the biggest impact.
Okay.
You know, we take a look at estimated or what we're running for tonnage a year and we get a hold of the landfill and we try to get a rate out of them per ton. It's kind of a guess because they won't give us the, you know, after that point in the year yet, especially when we develop a budget.
I didn't know that's where that was. I always wondered where that was in the budget.
That's your tipping.
Tipping fees.
landfill.
Okay.
Recognizing my first budget, so I may not know where this is. We've mentioned 2 capital projects in your area this year. Specifically, I'll start with Ward 2 Waterhouse and that piece. Where would I find that in there? We're talking about the Waterhouse update.
So that would be the capital plan, which is,
Part of the budget packet.
yeah,
That's not something that the council approves at the time of budget adoption. It's the project by project adoption by the council as the year progresses, similar to when we do when we outline the road program, road resurfacing program. Come new year, new analysis, maybe there's some grant opportunities to fund some of these, and that kind of bubbles those priorities to the top.
Thank you for that clarification.
So, I'm looking at the capital, the back of the budget. And what exactly is the necessary work for Waterhouse? What are you talking about, like sewer
So-
separation or what exactly?
well, what we have is, there had been a study done already by CDM Smith, and this is with John Ruff at this time. And there were 3 recommendations. John, myself and Andrew came to the same conclusion about how we'd like to separate it.
Mhm.
I think they had a preliminary design already done, which, you know, I was speaking to, so the next thing would be, and it's in the capital budget. To get the final design done and then put it out to bid for separation, which we did.
Initial work that we've done on Waterhouse and other areas of the city has been the
Okay.
slip lining. Yep. In preparation for some of the work that do the CSO separation, but also because, you know, some of that infrastructure is very old. And the technology to slip line helps with the longevity of that infrastructure.
Again, my main point is highlighting it in this meeting, so people on Waterhouse can hear it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's in the plan, for sure, and we've actually, Janelle and Andrew and myself have already had preliminary conversations about it, but that, you know, as soon as the budget is approved, then we'll move forward with getting that on, you know, going.
So, parks and beautification. Regular pay for that particular line, that particular 1100 line seems to be a significant increase in comparison to a lot of the other places in our budget. Is that a result of hiring more people? Are we going to put a lot more people in that department or? Because I see a large decrease in things like temporary pay.
Regular payroll, parks and beautification.
Mhm.
So this is a realignment of, actually, if you look at the overall payroll, I believe what you're gonna find is the realignment of employees dedicated to that portion of the payroll. Okay, so instead.
Oh,
of-
okay.
Yeah, so if you look at our total payroll in relation to total payroll for 2024, 2025, we're gonna find just more people are pulled out of that category.
Okay,
Pull that out of the other parts of
Yeah,
the
general fund.
other parts of the general fund and put directly into parks and beautification. I know we did some work with Courtney's office to dedicate a parks team. Team dedicated specific to improving parks and then also responding to field use reservations. And that includes a groundskeeper, maintenance worker or parks
Field
maintenance
maintenance
worker, field maintenance workers, and then
And then
some
crew
laborers.
supervisor is dedicated, one of the 3 we have will work in that parcel.
okay. Materials and supplies, I see that's decreased as well, like 55% decrease.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's your clay, that's your bases, that's. You know, fertilizer, any of those type of things, they go into it. Again,
Clay, basis, fertilizer,
yeah, lumber, you fix dugout, shingles, I mean, we're doing all these type of things right now, it's a catch-all line.
but you're decreasing that by 55%.
I,
Okay, I understand. I don't want to cause any.
So.
there's nothing to cost.
No, I just-
You're asking me to speak to a number that I
Beautification.
can't speak to.
No, I get it, Mike. I get it.
You're looking at what material supplies?
Yeah,
What
Right.
number is that? 1-1851-4430? 4330?
4310 under parks and beautification,
4310.
material and supply. It's a 55% decrease. $2,500 doesn't seem like a lot of money to do
Yeah,
play
sure. So-
bases,
Yeah,
parks
Yeah,
that where kids are
so-
playing and so forth.
yeah. So 2024 budget approved 5,600. Zero's money has been used out of that. What remains in that budget for 2024 is 5,600. What was requested out of that budget was 10,000. And what was proposed by my office is 2,500. On average, what was used is $1,500. So you can look at and say, oh, well, it's 50% decrease. Well, you gotta compare it to something. You can't just say it's a 50% decrease and then leave it at that. You gotta contextualize it somewhere.
So
That's
what,
how it's been contextualized.
so one question I have, and I don't know if this is something you can answer or if it's the mayor's office that answers it. When you,
The other
Oh.
thing we want, maybe make bring light in, I just thought of it. So my parks and beautification budget originally, up until. We added this.
Last year?
Last year, so
Last
that's gonna skew that 5-year average.
Right.
So.
Well, the
my-
5-year, sorry, Michael, the 5-year average comes along with that. Okay, so it's all encompassed into that, into past.
But there,
spending.
but there were recreation items that were put into there that were not ours.
Mhm.
And again, you're asking me to budget to that.
so I have a question for you then. When you're creating the budget for materials and supplies and you're telling me it's for things like clays, bases, fertilizer, shingles, okay.
Yeah,
so-
well, yeah, just,
So I'm thinking about the actual parks themselves being prepped, ready for season long use.
Mhm.
I don't know how to ask this. Do you come up with a plan of, okay, I'm just gonna randomly pick a park. So if Blue Met Park, we evaluate it, what it needs this year. I mean, is there a report or a list of every park that needs everything for the following year?
No.
To guide your decision making? That's what I was wondering.
for parks, no, typically because it was. What we've been focusing on is, obviously, there's two components, like I say, multiple components of parks, you have the playing surfaces, so. Right now, one of the big things we're working on is baseball fields, softball fields. Maintenance on infields, turf maintenance, we had, a bunch of work to do on fence. Batting cages that people had donated, so those are the type of things. As far as the just mowing the grass or what have you, that's what the original parks and beautification people do, is mow the bulk grass around the parks. Even the play sets used to be under the recreation portion of it, so those are all items that we don't go in that depth portion of it. Go say there's a broken swing, I don't have a line item. That, a specific, okay, for each broken swing, I'm gonna have like 5 in a year or something like that in a place that we don't.
So this could obviously go up.
It's a,
Obviously.
or it could go down.
That all used to be handled out of the Parks Department, which got moved over to CBO and then got passed on to us last year.
Right. I got that part. Okay,
So in 2023, the actual is there's Parks Electric, Parks Water, Parks Sewer, those are zeroed out. On 2023 actual. Then the 2024 actual, there's 5,000, 6,000, 2,000. Why were those zeroed out? Do you have any idea why that was done in 2023? Why they're zeroed out? You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to find the one that we're talking.
Right,
about.
it's
I-
44,
Wasting
11,
collection, sorry.
44, 12, 44, 13.
44. 11, 44.
11, 12, and 13.
Well, first of all, these were the handed off items, so I actually can't tell you, I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know of any net park that uses natural gas. You know, and then as far as the, you know, the water. The sewer, again, these were all handed off items, so I can't really speak to them.
Because then we have like 5,000, 2,000.
They were, basically, we were running with numbers that were originally there, and I don't know why they're zero.
Okay. Is the average that, Mr. Mayor, is the average of the 2025, including the zeros that were in 2023?
I believe part of the change that you're seeing there is that there was in that shift. Some of that expense was moved over to rec complex, the RCX fund. The average of those, not including the zero.
Right.
About 6,000. 5,500. The 2024 actual right now is zero. The 2024 for water, for sewers, zero. What was requested for water, 7,000. What was requested for sewer is 4,500.
Right.
And what's been presented here is 3,000 to 2,000 respectively.
Is Rec Complex Beach under CDO or is that
Correct.
yours? No, it's CDO. Rec Complex
Red
Beach.
Complex Beach, it's under CDO, but we'll charge against it based on it when we work the beach. Because we have the maintenance now.
They'll charge employee costs against.
Employee and material costs.
All the other bits and pieces are managed through upstairs.
The majority of the payroll is all out of the upstairs,
Okay.
the lifeguard.
They're all yours, you said?
No, they're-
No, CDO.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mike, I think that's all the questions I had for
Yeah.
you. I don't know if anybody else does.
Good.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Where's environmental? What page is that again on? So, environmental services, I'm not sure what page that begins on this budget.
It's funds 4 and 5, so they'll be towards the back, 30 in the 30 range.
Oh, there we go.
So starting-
Page 23 is water administration. Mike, that's yours, right? That's yours, right?
Social supply.
So you'll see in water, obviously you'll see the revenue, the water administration. Sorry, part of that water fund includes, water admin from DPW. Source and supply, purification. Transmission distribution is also DPW. And then obviously the benefits are filled in there, but Michael looks at the source and supply as well as the purification items in that budget.
So I'm interested in the water administration budget where contract service line is listed.
So that's Michael,
Right. Oh, different Michael.
not this Michael, that Michael. What number is that? Is that
It is 4430 contract service under
4430.
water administration. It's just, there's a large increase, just
Lar.
500% increase.
based on the 2024 budget, there was a $5,000 approved. What remains in that budget is 3,800. On average, over the last years, for that 5-year average was 30,000. What was proposed to this office was 30. What carried through was 30.
Mike, where does your budget begin?
It's right there.
Oh, I think it's 24, purification?
The line before it, page before, I think it's. Our source and supply, billing and power,
Power, okay.
that's just, and that's just salary, so.
Yeah. that's what I thought.
Source and supply, 4832 and 4833.
Yeah.
Are both under, standards, so. Responsibility.
Okay, so repairs to equipment, line 4450 for water is a 1,150% increase.
That's big.
Yeah, what is that encompassing?
I just put money on the budget for that and the next line down because of the reservoir. We're going to be plowing the road to the reservoir. We transferred brush hog this year, cleaning and mowing at the reservoir, so there hadn't been any money in that budget for that line item in the past. And plowing and keeping upkeep to that road and stuff is gonna
Okay,
it's
so
gonna
so
destroy our equipment and our trucks and stuff like that, so.
so that also encompasses then the next line, repairs to
Yes.
vehicle. Okay. Right. So under purification, I'm assuming that's also yours.
Yes.
Looking at, again, vehicle parts, that's a large increase.
Pretty much the same.
Same thing,
Yeah,
right?
we have 2 trucks and they go with that plows on it and they go where they gotta go. And we have a tractor also with a snow blower attachment.
Okay,
Just likes to break.
okay. Purification lab, I'm assuming that's yours.
What was that one?
It just keeps going through.
Laboratory, yeah,
Yeah, I don't have any questions. about that.
4330. There's nothing.
No. 4330. Material and supplies. Is that the one I'm asking about?
Yeah, technical special material supplies. 5-year average was 17,000. What was approved in the budget for 2024 was 59,400. What remains in this budget this year is 57,000. What was proposed by Michael was 0. What got carried forward was 0.
I have no additional question. I'm speaking for myself, I should.
Something to note.
The one,
Something to note with purification is the general state of that facility, 90 years old.
90, yeah.
Okay, so the city's gonna have to answer a pretty difficult question in the coming years as to what we do with that facility. At some point in a 90-year-old facility, you gotta figure out how to replace it. Okay, you just can't keep patching it, can't keep fixing bits and pieces here and there. Ideal situation is that the city would enter into some type of design phase for a new facility. And then fund for it. But it's needed. Can't keep hitting equipment with hammers just to get them working. I'm not exaggerating. That's what has to happen in some of these cases.
That's what happens.
Are you Fonzie?
So
Are you Fonzie? Get the-
sometimes you gotta get the right whack.
I think that's it.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do we have next? Community development? No.
The Renatia
sorry.
environmental.
Yep.
Involves the opposite end of the city, which starts on page 29. Total sanitary sewer, mine starts the next line. Where it says work, WRRF.
Yeah, again, just as an explanation. There's parts of this budget that's managed through Department of Public Works as their function to maintain, manage, replace sewer infrastructure that falls under sewer admin. And sanitary sewer. after that, it's the WR.
Sanitary sewer. Line 4340, there's a definite increase there.
What line, sorry?
4340,
4340. Building.
On page 29.
Yep. Building grounds and supplies, is that correct? 58124340,
yes,
4340?
581, 20,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
4340.
Okay, 5-year average $5,200. 2024 revised is 12.5. What remains in 2024 is 11,000. What was proposed is 12.5, and what was carried through is 12.5.
What exactly does that cover? What does that represent? What does that line represent?
Yeah,
basically?
so that would be, again, there are certain funds in this, or there's certain categories of funding in this that does not fall under Janelle. That would be for DPW. Do you know what that is for, Mike? Buildings and grounds under sanitary sewer?
Buildings and grounds, just that, so it's for the DPW complex, it's that 1/3 of the cost for the maintenance of the buildings, so it could be. For instance, I have an overhead door right now that's stuck in the down position, so. Door repair, I have 11 large overhead doors, it could be lock cylinders, it could be roof repairs, it could be floor repair.
Gotcha.
But I just want to understand why, you had mentioned taking averages of
Mhm.
the past actuals. right?
Sorry, say that again.
You took averages of past actuals, correct?
Took averages of the past actuals, which are the finalized budget. So
Right.
after the year closeout, those final budgets, those are the numbers that I use as the historical look back for the 5-year average.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just looking at the 2023 actual and 2024 on that same line.
Yep.
It's, the 2023 is, actual is 4,000, the
Yep.
2024 is 1,003.
2023, I'm sorry, the 2023 actual,
Yeah,
4,000.
Right.
The 2024 actual, which is today.
right.
So there could be some encumbrances between the time this has been reported versus now.
So, I'm just, when you come out with the mayor's 2025.
Yep.
It's at 12,005.
That's right.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. So if you remember the sheet that we provided that looked like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So that yellow column is what the department head provides my office.
Yes.
And I look at that and I say, why in the heck is this 150% larger than it was the average? And they say, this is why I need this, and this.
Okay.
And I say, okay, great. So put it in, right?
I
So,
got you. All right.
rather than just saying, thanks for your advice, I'm just gonna ignore what you need for next year and put in what I want. There is a dialogue that happens.
Okay.
And there's some back and forth, like sometimes I don't agree, sometimes I say, look, you're not gonna replace 5 vehicles, you're gonna replace one and kick the rest off for the next 4 years or whatever.
Right.
So there's a dialogue there.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Down at sanitary sewer.
So, under sanitary sewer, there's a 22% decrease. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Is it electric? No, contract service. So there's a 22% decrease in contract service. What
Okay.
does that cover?
Again, sanitary sewer. Sewer admin are not Janelle's budget.
Oh,
They're in
okay.
Janelle's budget, but
Okay.
that's not budgetary,
Okay,
like, focus that she takes. Janelle's office is wharf expense.
And
The
it
sh-
starts with 5813.
Yep.
okay, so under work,
Yep.
4430 contract service.
Yes.
Okay, so 102,000 represents a 96% increase. Can you explain that?
Under contracted services. I have increased. For, CDM Smith and or other consultants, should I need them for consulting services. With grant administration projects. I also have, an increase for consulting services. In case we need consulting services with our new speedies permit that's coming out. So the DEC will be providing us with a new permit, and it will be beneficial for us to have that looked at by outside sources as well and provide input from others who work with other plants in New York and also see those speedies revisions and what they're being asked, what we're being asked, and can guide us
Okay.
through those changes.
So I have a similar question for Worth Shop, where your contract services are increased significantly there too. Is that for the same reason or for a different reason?
So I believe that, Worth. Shop, yes, I added some contracted services, in case we need those for, administration of grants and in case we needed those for engineering services agreements.
I don't think I have any other questions. I don't know if other counselors do, but I don't.
Alrighty.
Thank you very much.
If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn this meeting for the next, take a little bit of a break and then come back at 5:30 for the regular meeting. Motion adjourned. Motion by Gibbs, second by Annette. Comes out of nowhere. All in favor?
Aye.
Now adjourn, folks.